Good morning, guys. Welcome to day 250 until I am a YouTube millionaire. Today is going to be a book review of The King in Yellow. By Robert William Chambers. I was stimulated to galvanize to read this book from Wendigoon, a channel on YouTube that has grown like a weed because it's been heated by YouTube. Thankfully, the proprietor of that channel is a really good dude, so it's not all bad in, YouTube basically being a publisher and heating certain channels and cooling others. But either way, I was encouraged to read this book from that channel. And this book is basically it's a macabre horror story. What I noticed, it's a compilation of a bunch of short stories. And the main thread that's supposed to go through all of them is this character called the King in Yellow. The King in Yellow is actually a book. So it's a book by the name of The King in Yellow. And then there's that person that comes to those people that read the book wherever they go and wreaks havoc in their lives. I did find it interesting, but there is something to note here. It says here on the back, originally published in 1895. So it's a really old book. However, there are short stories in the book that reference vehicles, like motorized taxis. So I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding that. They might be saying that it was originally published with like 3 stories in it to comprise an entire book, and then they republished it with second and third editions adding more stories. That could have been what it is. I haven't heard of that happen very often, but I know it does. And who knows? Authors can do any number of things with their works. But another thing that I noticed that was common among the stories is that the main characters within the short stories were always in their mid-20s. Well, late teens to mid-20s. They were never older than that, never younger than 17, 18. And many of the stories are love stories gone awry, and a few of them, actually the King in Yellow helped them out. Now, if you want a much more robust review of this book, Wendigoon literally goes through point for point, and his review of it is about an hour and a half. He does very extensive reviews of the books that he reads. But for me on this channel, essentially what I do is I just give you a very rough 30,000 foot overview of the story, and then I tell you whether or not I think it's worthwhile reading. I would say, from my 30,000 foot view, that it is. And understand, I am already my own filter. I don't read books that I don't want to read, so at the base level, or books that aren't recommended to me by my viewers on this channel. So with that being said, yes, it's a good book. It's very interesting. But I didn't understand how the thread continued of the King in Yellow for the last 2 or 3 stories. So the book ends with the main character of the last short story having a red rose with him, being drunk, walking outside of a lady's house that he was interested in, by the name of rhubarb, right? Kind of like rhubarb, right? The root vegetable that's used to make rhubarb pie, that was popular during World War II because it was easy to grow in the dark. So anyway, it seemed like those last few stories had nothing to do with the King in Yellow. So it was kind of jumbled. It was hard for me to keep track of, starting from the third to last story in the book. It goes from like Civil War era to Otto von Bismarck wars in Europe. So it's pre-World War One, right? And then it switches over to... It's just very weird. It was hard to keep track of. It really was. But I would say that it gives a very good overview for younger people of a plethora of different historical events. And it does expand your mind, makes you think about things that perhaps you've never thought of. So, yeah, recommend it. It's a good book. It's not too long. It's just barely 200 pages. Though I have to say, as I was reading it, I remember distinctly looking back just to see how long the story was, and it said it was 188 pages. It was almost like some type of Mandela effect happened with me, right? Because once I finished it, it was like 200 and... what is it now? 205 pages. But I could have swore that I looked to see how long it was, and it was 188 pages. I've noticed that with a lot of books that I read. Almost like on the fly, there are some subtle changes to the timeline to get the right information to the right people at the right time in the right place. Yeah. Worth your read. I know this video is a little jumbled. I got some stuff going on today. Got a lot of cleaning I gotta do. But I hope you enjoyed, and love y'all. Peace.